What is better, HIIT or your basics of hypertrophy? Today, guys, we're talking about HIIT training. Yes, the popular training methodology that Mike Mentzer used, that 7-time Mr. Olympia Dorian Yates used, the same person who created the Nautilus machines used. They stand by that. They swear by it. It is the end-all, be-all type of training. We're going to break that down and let you guys understand that is this the type of training that you should be doing? That's a question I've been asked a bunch of times. Should I be training like Mike Mentzer? What about Mike Mentzer? What about HIIT? Explain this. How's it work? Should I train like this? What if I'm not enhanced? What if I'm natural? What if I'm enhanced? So we're going to break this thing down, give you guys a clear understanding of what HIIT actually is in the most simplistic way I can explain it, so you guys can understand how or if you should be using this type of training. Now, when it comes down to it, guys, honestly, you're gonna get the best results from training any type of method that you're going to connect with the most. Let's just put it this way. If you got good technique and, if you got good form and you have good attention and good muscle-mind connection, whatever training that you decide to do, if you connect with it and it brings you joy, excitement, you just can't wait to do it, go ahead and do whatever it is that you enjoy doing. You're probably most likely going to get the best results from that. There's no point of I'm doing a push-pull legs training, program, but I hate it. But I really like training a 4-day split. Well, then change, right? Do what you like, that you connect with the most is going to give you the best results. Before we get into HIIT training, let's just understand how muscles are built to begin with. So I've made a few videos on hypertrophy, and a lot of people say, you probably heard it before, do you train for strength or do I train for hypertrophy? Let's break things completely down very easy. Hypertrophy just means expansion of cells. Muscle hypertrophy means the expansion of muscle cells. Within that, there are two types of training. I say this very loosely. There's myofibrillar hypertrophy, which basically is training 90% of 1 rep max, longer rest times, 1 to 6 reps, and that type of training is creates the expansion of the muscle cell itself. Sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, the training method that would be mostly attached to training twice a week, a push-pull leg, so to speak, right? Bro split, whatever. That type of training, or the effect of that type of training, is the expansion of the, I would say, fluid or glycogen around the muscle cell. So one is actually expanding the cell itself, the muscle cell itself, and the other is expanding the fluid around the cell. So think about like strength, and then this one, pump. You get a big pump from training sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. To be able to achieve that, training twice a week, sets are around 70% of your 1 rep max, you're resting a little shorter, and you're training more frequently, more volume. That is basically the gist of training. All training comes from muscle hypertrophy. There's some type of nuance that goes off on their own branches, like HIIT training is a type of muscle hypertrophy. A push-pull legs is a type of muscle hypertrophy, right? So again, going back to full circle, whatever training methodology that you're doing that you connect with the most is probably stemming from the principles of muscle hypertrophy. If you connect with it the best, you enjoy it, do what you're doing. My job is to break things down in a simple way for you guys to understand, so you can make the decision whether or not you want to apply it to your life. So now we have that out of the way, let's break down HIIT training. Now, for those who are watching it now, HIIT is not the same as HIIT, which is high intensity interval training, which would be like, running, peaking your heart rate and then coming back down for a short period of time, doing it again, up and down. But let's just break the definition of high intensity training. High intensity training is a strength training methodology that emphasizes maximum effort and intensity in a relatively short duration. Taking sets to absolute failure, and your workouts are very short. It primarily focuses on performing exercises to a point of momentary muscle failure. Basically, again, bringing your sets to failure, which means doing reps until it's impossible to perform another rep, right? So what does that actually look like in terms of like a microcycle? What does a microcycle look like when it comes to HIIT training? For example, let's say day 1, upper body, you're doing bench press followed by, bent over rows, then like say like overhead press and dumbbell curls and tricep dips or close grip press of some sort, some pull-ups or lat pull-downs, and you're doing one set of each of those for like 6 to 10 reps, and you're failing. You're either failing at 6 reps or you're failing at 10 reps. You're not getting any more than you can actually do. You're annihilating the muscle. Done. Day 2, you rest. Day 3, you're gonna do like your lower body and abs. You're gonna do, say, like squats and leg press. You're doing deadlifts or RDLs, leg curls, calf raises, crunches, leg raises, whatever. And you're doing one set of each to absolute failure. Day 4, you're resting. Day 5, maybe an optional whole body, workout. But probably doing nothing. You're probably just doing nothing. Within this, you're doing absolute squat all. You're resting, and then again, day 6, day 7, rest, and you do it again. So you're basically only really training twice a week, covering the entire body, taking each and every set to absolute failure. So you're looking at it like a 0 RIR and a 10 RPE. Let's look at the basic principles of HIIT. What makes it actually HIIT? These are things, these are like non-negotiables. If you're trained this way, this is the only way you can train HIIT. Again, when it comes to principle-wise, intensity over volume. Meaning, HIIT's going to prioritize taking each set to failure over doing, say, a set to, you have a few reps left in the tank, and then you can train that same muscle group a few days later. It prioritizes intensity over volume. What does rest and recovery look like? Well, since HIIT's obviously going to annihilate the muscle and your central nervous system, you're taking longer rests. Talking like days. You work out, say, twice, and you get 5 days off. 2 days on, 5 days off. Make it super simple. What does the actual workout look like itself? When in this principle, it's brief and infrequent workouts, right? So that means basically due to the high intensity, the muscle failure, the muscle damage you're going to get, you're only going to train very short. Let's just, for example, Dorian Yates literally trained for like 45 minutes. He's famous for, that Olympian who won 7 Olympians in a row, trained only 45 minutes a day. And his training was intense. Go watch some of his videos. It's absolutely insane. Back in the day, it was intense. He's screaming, hollering. That's basically it. Now, let's look at the scientific foundations and the examples of HIIT training. Right? So when it comes to motor unit recruitment, basically means like the muscles being recruited during during HIIT training, right? Muscles are composed of motor units. We all know that, right? Maybe we don't, maybe we do. So when it comes to actually training, when you're training as hard as intense as you are with this, when it comes to motor units and the recruitment of muscles, basically how the muscle works, to make it super simple. If I'm lifting something really light, a few muscles are being recruited to help me lift something really light. But the heavier the load is, the more the body recruits more muscle fibers to help with that load. Fairly simple. So when it comes to this, training-wise, its basis is, because of the intensity of the training, the load, the point of that is to recruit the most amount of muscles or muscle fibers within your training. Just to kind of sum that up, again, when it comes to the intensity of your training, the more intense your training is in terms of the load, the more your body's going to recruit more muscle fibers to be able to perform that exercise, that movement. Now, when it comes to our hormonal response, high intensity activities, even for a brief period of time, do release a lot of anabolic hormones like testosterone and growth hormone. So again, when it comes to training like this, training HIIT, it's going to stimulate a lot more testosterone hormone and growth hormone. It would be the most anabolic training that you can think of. That's all said and done. Now we understand HIIT training to some degree. I would say we have an understanding what HIIT training is. Make it super simple again. Training as hard as possible, bringing muscles to failure. One set of failure, basically. Training twice a week, upper body, lower body, and then resting. That is it. Now, we always have to go to science, right? Because you can't, when someone says that this one way to train is the only way to train, that's not right. That's not true at all. Again, it's going to be the one that you connect with the most. But when it comes down to it, to the basis, to the foundation of building muscle, science is at the foundation, and there's a little bit of holes in HIIT training. But here are a little bit of the criticisms that come with HIIT training, right? While HIIT has proponents and has been shown to be effective for many individuals, obviously, it's worth noting that it's not universally considered superior to other training methods. So to make it super simple, when it comes to building muscle, at the base and the root of building muscle, volume is the key driver. Volume is going to be your biggest advocate in building muscle. We'll get into reps and time and attention and range of motion soon. But when it comes down to it, science says with hypertrophy, when you want to expand the muscle, again, when we're talking about expanding the fluid around the cell, we're not talking about strength, we're talking about expanding the muscle, trying to make it bigger. We're trying to volumize things. Volume is a key driver, meaning sets times reps times weight, right? It's critical for hypertrophy. So when it comes down to it, if we want the muscles to get bigger, there needs to be a volume of sets, of reps, and weight over time. Creates muscle adaptation. For example, there's a meta-analysis done in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research in 2016 found that multiple sets training was superior to single set training for muscle hypertrophy. Remember, the expansion of muscle cells. This finding's challenging to the single set approach promoted by strictly HIIT methodologies. So when we're looking at should I train this way, here's a few things I look at when it comes to the style of training and then who's promoting the style of training and who's doing that style of training. I can't speculate on Mike Mentzer, but I would assume that he was enhanced as well too as Dorian Yates was. And when it comes down to it, if you're taking steroids, you're going to be able to train certain ways and get great results because of your ability to recruit more muscle fibers and to be able to heal that much faster. So you can go and absolutely annihilate yourself in HIIT training and you'll recover quickly. So the question when it comes to should I train like this if I'm natural, you definitely 100% can. You just have to be extremely cautious of your recovery. If you train all the time, and here's the issue when it comes to HIIT training, if you're training all of the time to failure, you're at risk of overtraining. Now you're saying, well, wait, but you're resting for 5 days. That's fine. But if you're doing it over and over and over and over and over again, that is very possible in the end. Just because you rest for 5 days doesn't mean every single time you train you can beat the shit out of your muscle until you can't move them anymore. Again, some of these guys who are doing HIIT training are also enhanced. So yes, enhanced and naturals can do the same type of training like HIIT. The only thing is the enhanced athlete is going to recover that much quicker. Now, we have to talk about the risks of overtraining and injury. Continually pushing the muscles to failure, especially in compound movements like squats, bench, deads, will 100% increase your risk of injury. Sorry, it will. Right? While HIIT training emphasizes recovery, the intensity can sometimes lead to overtraining, especially if proper rest isn't adhered to, right? So if you're not resting enough, if you decide, oh, I'm good to go, say you're that enhanced athlete that's doing HIIT training, is like, oh, I feel good, I can do it again, you're putting yourself at risk of injury. In conclusion, to wrap this entire thing up, HIIT training is basically training, say, twice a week, covering the entire body, doing more so compound movements and taking sets to absolute failure, and then resting for the rest of the time, basically like you're resting 5 days. Can you train this way and build muscle? 100% you can. 100% you are guaranteed that you will stimulate muscle growth. At the core of HIIT training is using a load that's going to recruit a ton of muscle fibers while bringing that load to failure, which will 100% recruit a lot more muscle fibers. So Just by that alone, and you make sure that you're resting and then eating properly, making sure you're eating enough protein, enough, calories, and resting properly, you will 100% build muscle. So what is better, HIIT or your basics of hypertrophy? Well, when it comes down to it, you have to go with the science. You 100% can build muscle training HIIT. Let's just say the person that wants to train HIIT and the person that's training just your basics of muscle hypertrophy, they want to put on 10 pounds of muscle. What does the science say? The science says the person who's training the basics of hypertrophy is going to build 10 pounds of muscle faster than the person who's training HIIT. Why? Well, when it comes down to it, science trumps opinion, period. In order for you to build muscle, at the core, it's volume based, meaning sets times reps times weight. Sets times reps times weight. Volume over time builds muscle. HIIT, you just cannot train as frequent. You can definitely build muscle, but you're not going to do it as, I would say, fast as hypertrophy. Plus, there's a lot more chances of being injured training HIIT as well. Again, when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't really matter what science says. All that matters in the end is what you want to do, and if you connect best with whatever training approach or methodology you decide to use. That's all that matters in the end. Just make sure you have good form. I don't care what you do. Do HIIT. Do regular hypertrophy. Just make sure your form is good, and you'll build muscle, and just be smart about things. Listen to your body. Take the proper rest when you need them, and reap the benefits of just training. Anyway, guys, for more videos like this, let me know in the comment section below. And also, guys, make sure you got my ebook, The Final Diet, is in the link in the description below. Till next time, guys, binge watch my videos. And you guys know how it is. Iron sharpens iron. Progressive overload your life. In the meantime, keep dream chasing. Peace.